So is Lady London telling the truth on Sway? Lady London is an American rapper and songwriter from the Bronx, New York. Recently sat down with Sway and Heather B on Sway's Universe. And she talked about there being no money in music and that the good artists in music aren't getting any playtime. She also had some pretty generally good advice for artists. So let's watch this little video real quick and then we will talk about it.
If you were to be interviewed now by a group of up-and-coming artists, what would be the things you would tell them to watch out for? Make sure you do this, and this can amount to this. This is how you actually make money today.
I think the most important thing for an artist to do is understand that artistry goes beyond your creation, like beyond your music or whatever. First, you're an artist, then you're a brand, and then you're a business. Okay. And if you structure your life like that, you have infinite potential. Man, it's so much. Consistency in anything is important. Establishing yourself as a brand allows your reputation to stay in rooms for longer than you do. So if you have like this great way that you brand partner with people, then other brands will want to partner with you forever. All your money is in brand partnerships.
Okay.
It's in touring. It's in merchandise. Product is key. Making sure you're always selling something, even if it's not under your name. You can sell anything and be the face of a product that you're like not necessarily like a public owner of, if that makes sense. There's no money in music.
There's no
actual
money.
music.
Yeah. There's no money in music.
There's no money in actual music because in the digital era that we're in now, streaming era, I want people to understand it takes 80 streams on Apple Music to make $1. You have to listen to this song generous. 80 times to make $1.
Wow.
So if you understand that,
who's listening to the same song 80 times?
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what the machine is. That's if we just looking at the streaming numbers, we're not in a place where music itself grosses from streaming.
Yeah.
What's her name again?
Game. Lady London.
Shout out to Lady London.
Yeah.
Yeah, 80 streams does sound kind of.
That sounds like wow. That sounds pretty great. Yeah. You know, I thought it was well over that, but
I'm pretty sure it is actually
84. What she say? $84.
Yeah,
$84.
Why did you say it like that?
I'm just
$84.
Yeah, it's not like it's less than a penny per stream, so that doesn't make any sense. But I get what she's saying, but realistically, even what she's talking about it's actually worse than what she was actually portraying, which she was portraying it as being bad. So, how valuable is playtime? You know, is the playtime that she's speaking about in today's artists?
We've talked about at least I've made mention of it before. How, you know, all the money in music, what little there is between the songs. Right. What I mean is, if you have Spotify and while you're listening, they start to play a commercial for Chevy trucks or whatever. You know, that's where the money is. When we're streaming on YouTube, the money is generated, you know, especially if you are one of those poor disheveled people who does not have YouTube Premium. Is between, you know, the actual content. You know, there's no money. Like, there wasn't money in the music industry for the artists when they were selling physical CDs. There was always people who's like, yeah, I sold 2 million, but I owe the record company, you know, $1.5 million.
Unless you're direct to consumer.
Unless you're direct to consumer. Yeah. And right now, it's so hard to be direct to consumer because like people are conditioned to get their music, enjoyment from music for free.
But I would argue that it is easier now than it ever has been.
Direct to consumer?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would agree.
Because there's a lot of, and this also could be the bubble that I'm in as well, but there are a lot more people talking about the ills of streaming, Spotify's being corrupt and evil. A lot of more people are, even from like a societal standpoint, we're in probably the biggest moment of anti-capitalism probably that we've been in 50 years or so. Maybe not even anti-capitalism, but maybe the most progressive
exploitation.
Yeah, but the most progressive place we've been in a very long time, even though it's not very drastic. That is a thing. So people are still aware of it, but to her point, I think she's actually dropping a lot of gems here, even though I'm not really super familiar with who this is. Pretty much everything she said is true. It's like everything she said is literally true.
I like how she stressed the importance of branding and becoming your own entity, essentially, and how that can work for you in these rooms as you move around as an artist and as a creative. I think the way she laid it out was perfect. There's a lot of game in this little snippet that we showed. No, she's right on the money. She didn't tell no lie, especially about no money being in music and touring and merch, and he's spot on.
Well, this is the thing that's so crazy now is like these record companies, these majors, whatever you want to call them, they understand that, and they've been understood because that's where the 360 deal comes from. Because they want anything that, you got something going on with Maybelline or Coca-Cola or Chevy. I don't know why I keep mentioning them, but
you need to cut that out, man.
They want part of that money because that's what maintains their machine. And now since they're in bed with like the Live Nations, it used to be a group could say, okay, I don't make any money off of this, but I'm going to get all my money on the road. Well, now Live Nation and companies, I don't know which other companies even there are at this point, who have access to these venues and have the partnerships or own the venues or have some sort of ownership of them, are saying, okay, they're doing something like the record companies are doing. They're giving artists upfront money, and they basically have to pay it back through their sales of tickets. So there'll be, I'm not going to call it any artist, but there's some that are basically getting screwed like the same way they were getting screwed in their record deals, is, okay, yes, we'll put you out on tour. It'll be a big production. You took the upfront money, but you got to pay it back to us by garnering these record sales, or not by these ticket sales. And it's like, okay, well, I'm starting to do this, but then if the ticket sales aren't brisk like you thought they were going to be, here's an $80 ticket or $100 ticket that might get dropped in a flash sale down to $20. So now you're paying back what they advanced you to go on this tour even slower because you're only getting it back $20 at a time as opposed to $100 at a time.
Yeah, and this isn't new though.
Yeah, but
I've been a part of these schemes.
Yeah,
I mean on the other side of it. So yeah.
And the crazy thing,
here's these tickets, sell them, and you have to sell this many, and yeah. And
the crazy thing is now, like, okay, that revenue that's generated, they don't share the money that they got from the parking. Okay, that's not helping you pay back your advance or your loan, or which it is. An advance is a loan. And okay, every time they pay $12 for a can of Liquid Death, that's not going to help you either. And the crazy thing is, Live Nation is a partner of Liquid Death, so it's like all the money is coming back to these venues, and you're just paying the money back. It's a nasty, nasty game at this point because. You think that the artists are updating their formulas? Well, so are these companies that move music and create the venues for performances.
Rapper Big Pooh, I saw a thread of statements that he made. I don't know if it was in an interview or what, but it's in relation to Little Brother's final curtain call tour that they're going on. And he mentioned the fact that the venues are, how different it is now versus how it was, let's say, 10 years or so. About how it used to be, you would talk to like a booking agent with a venue or something. They would figure out how to market and target that particular audience and bring them in for whatever crowd. And he's like, now it's like they're trying to cut in on everything, and they're using the same copy and paste marketing for everything as they're doing everything. And so it's like the venues aren't putting in their, I don't know,
their due diligence.
Yeah, essentially. To do it as well. I have to look that up, but yeah, that Pooh was mentioning that, which is interesting. But also I think it probably depends on the size of the artist and also the type of venues that you're performing at, if you will. Smaller artists probably can go to smaller venues and not run to as many issues. Because they don't have to deal with Live Nation in that particular way.
Jump in, Terry. I don't want to cut you off.
I really don't have anything to add to what she said because we've all kind of touched on these situations as far as being an artist nowadays. You have to wear many hats. You can't just come into the game thinking that you're going to do music and that's going to be it. A lot of these artists have to do their own promotion, their own branding, their own even art and things of that nature. You have to know how to do all of this stuff. At the end of the day, you are a brand in yourself. So if you were to get with a record company or a promoter or somebody like that, if it doesn't work out with them, your brand still needs to carry you to the forefront and keep you in public eye. So, I mean, she hasn't said anything that I think is something that I haven't been hearing for at least the past 15 years or so.
Yeah, I think it depends on the circles you're into.
Yeah.
But
let me ask you that. Let me ask you guys this. as it relates to the information that she provided. How does the one-hit wonder, the YouTube sensation, take what she said? Do they care as much?
They definitely care as much because they're all about being a brand. They only need something to springboard them to whatever they're trying to use this for. They're not really in it for the music.
They probably understand it better than the artist.
That's what I was going to see what you guys were.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm saying is they're not really worried about that. Their whole thing is to get their brand off the ground and use it however they seem fit. Like when you think about like a Drewski, who is a comedian, I think first time a lot of people may have seen him was with
Jack
Harlow. He used to run in their camp. Now Drewski is arguably more popular than him.
You can make that argument.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I saw Drewski. I mean, this is a while ago, but he had like for the Google Pixel phone.
Yeah, he's been in all kind of ads and all kind of stuff. So
figured that out.
Yeah, he definitely figured it out. But I think his first camp was running with Jack Harlow. So he used that situation to promote his brand. His brand took off. I mean, he didn't make music or anything like that. But I mean, at the end of the day, everybody is working as a brand, and these gems have been being dropped by artists for as long as I can remember. I mean, Jay-Z said, "I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman." You know what I'm saying? He's been saying that. Artists have been telling you, in order for you to actually succeed in this game, you have to look at this from a different point of view versus just coming in here as, I just want to make this music and that's it.
I think the one thing that I see with young up and coming artists on a regular basis is just their lack of, especially if they're super creative, they're really good at the thing they do. This is commonplace for us because we're older and we've been having these conversations, one on the show for a very long time, but also we've been around this for a very long time. But breaking it down the way that she did, I think she did a very good job in how she said everything. I still run into young people all the time, students of mine and stuff, that need this laid out for them step by step by step. Right. And it's because it's just, even if they understand content to some degree, it's like it's still a kind of a massive mind in a way to think, I want to be an artist, but that's only like 10 to 20% of what I need to be doing. And so re-drilling this into artists' heads of like, no, you're not just an art. You create the art and then the work starts. Or you have enough money, you have a big enough trust fund, or you have enough people to fund you for whatever reason to do the work for you. But the work still needs to get done in some particular way. But what she outlined, I think she did a very good job of describing that. So
I thank you for that.
Yeah, I think some people just think it's make dope song, step 2, profit.
Yes.
It's never been that way.
Or post an Instagram reel. Like they think that's where it stops. And it's like, okay, well, how do you get the conversation that I've been having recently is like people, students that have decent Instagram followings or Spotify plays or working with artists that have a lot of Spotify plays. And I'm saying, okay, they listen to you. How do you capture them? And then it becomes, what do you mean? How do I capture them? Well, how do they come back? How do you communicate with them? How do you get them to become a fan? And that's the conversation I think is around the do-it-yourself, direct-to-consumer approach that needs to be, I think the thing that she's saying needs to be driven home over and over again to artists, because a lot of young artists just think it stops at getting on Spotify and getting people to listen to it on a playlist. But then all the ownership, it lives on Spotify. They own the fans. There's no way for you to no way for you to get into contact with them. If you get cut off, how are you going to get them back to you? And if you, I don't know, what if you're no longer on Spotify anymore? What if Spotify kicks you out because of this weird distribution stuff that's been happening?
Then what? You
lose everything, right? So it's platform. It's really about, becoming your own brand, finding a way to bring people over to what you're doing and to invest in them as much as they are investing in you.
Oh, shout out to her. That's a lot of game right there in that little segment.